to another video. And today's video, I wanted to kind of take a few seconds to, relax for a little bit, because every time I do a video, I'm talking about a tech product from Apple, sometimes Google, Samsung, but I want to kind of take a few moments and I want to talk about something that I don't know if a lot of you guys know about. Also, I'm trying to adjust the camera. This autofocus is garbage. There we go. I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't really talk about, and I think this is something you guys should understand when you're watching tech YouTubers and you're watching any YouTubers that talk about tech from any company or anything. There's a problem going on right now. And I think the biggest problem with tech reviewers on YouTube is almost every tech YouTuber you can go online and find are either just extremely biased to one company, are either a sheep to that company, or some are mutual, and some that are fans of either or, and still respect each other. There's a lot of ways you could separate them. But today I wanted to pull up a few YouTubers and kind of explain to you what I mean by the problem with tech YouTubers. Now, I'm going to start off the list with Apple fanboys. Obviously, I want to talk about YouTubers that are just genuine Apple fans, because there's two different types of Apple fans in the tech world. You have Apple sheep, who are mindless, don't listen to any problems, just buy the products, and they just do it on the spot. Then you have Apple fans, die-hard Apple fans, who love Apple, but are acknowledging and have legitimate reasons to like Apple. And I'm going to give a definition of who these YouTubers are. So, starting off, I believe the first die-hard Apple fan up on the list is Everything Apple Pro. If you watch Everything Apple Pro, he is by far my favorite YouTuber to watch in terms of any Apple news or anything about iOS 12 betas or anything. He gives a distinctive detail of what's going on and stuff, and he tells you he's a fan of Apple. However, he does acknowledge when Apple is wrong, and he even says it himself. He knows that Apple can be expensive and is sometimes, in the wrong, and he acknowledges it and he never denies it. And he's even talked about a few Samsung devices. He acknowledges if they're good and if they're bad, and most times they're pretty good. So he is more of an Apple fanboy than an Apple sheep. So that's one. Next up, another Apple fanboy, which I think, or a diehard Apple fan, I really shouldn't say Apple fan, is Marcus Brownlee. Now, just gonna pull it up for reference. Marcus, in my opinion, is a great YouTuber. But the thing is with Marcus is he tends to always lean towards Apple in ways, but then he turns around and starts talking about Android and acknowledging a lot of the things that Androids do. So even though he likes Apple, he is still in the realm of being an Apple fanboy, but he's not an Apple sheep. So that's an Apple fanboy that love Apple, have a legitimate reason to like Apple, but sometimes can change it up. Then you got Jonathan Morrison, who is another Apple fan, I don't know if he's a diehard Apple fan, but I believe he's an Apple fan. He talks mostly about the iPhones, but then he talks about other things, computers, galaxies, and stuff. So these are what I'm trying to say, these are diehard Apple fans. Then you have Apple sheep. Apple sheep, in my opinion, are YouTubers that are just, I don't know where they come from. So I'm going to pull up the most obvious one. If you don't know this YouTuber, you're crazy. Her name is iJustine, or iJustine. I don't know how to say her name. I'm sorry. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of likes and dislikes on this video, but just bear with me for a second. She, in my opinion, is the biggest definition of an Apple sheep you will find. She is literally an Apple fan. Now, there's no denying she's a fan of the product, but here's the problem. When she buys an Apple device, she gloats about it like it's the best thing ever, and that's fine and all, but it's the same shit you did last year, and the year before that, and the year before that. And I've yet to see one video where she talks and says, maybe sometimes Apple is in the right. Now, she doesn't do all Apple. She obviously has vlogs, fun little skits, but her main emphasis is mainly Apple, and she literally held a fucking party for the HomePod. Had a fucking cake made to look like the HomePod. What? And she bought like fucking mad HomePods even before they had any of the better features. So she bought them right away without even probably acknowledging about this and that. And she didn't even know what the hell was inside of it. She was like, oh, there's a tweeter. Do you even know what a fucking tweeter is? Do you know what any of the shit that is inside your phone? No. She probably doesn't. Maybe she does. I don't know. But this is one definition of an Apple sheep. Then you have, in my opinion, the biggest Apple sheep I could find. And I'm kind of saying this. This YouTuber, I think, he is a very good YouTuber. I like some of his videos, but this is by far the biggest definition of an Apple sheep you will find. Taylosif Tech. If I said his name wrong, I'm sorry. But Taylosif Tech is the most biased Apple fanboy you will find. Every once in a while, he will acknowledge when he's wrong, and sometimes he'll acknowledge when the competition is a little bit better. But this motherfucker, I'm sorry, but every time I watch a video from him, anytime Apple makes something that they're wrong, he will either acknowledge it and then defend them, or he will just straight defend them and try to have compromises for why this happens. And that's the one thing I disagree with him, is if you know your brand makes a mistake, admit to it. Your brand made a mistake. You're an Apple fan, that's fine. At least he has legitimate reasons to like Apple, but he will go on and on and on talking about how Apple Sheep reviews the Galaxy Note 9, how Apple Sheep talks about the Pickleball. Stop calling yourself an Apple Sheep. You're not an Apple Sheep. You act like one. You're not an actual Apple Sheep. That's what I'm trying to say, is he's in the definition of an Apple Sheep, but he is not in reality. He's more of a diehard Apple fan, like I put the other guys, but because of his portrayal that he makes in these videos, he comes off as an Apple Sheep. So I have no choice but to put him in that realm. Then you have the biased tech news that talk about Apple, and then they sometimes either are with them or are not with them. One of them is Unbox Therapy. Now, I want to go on record and say I freaking love Unbox Therapy. I watch almost every single one of Lou's videos, and they are awesome. My only problem is, anytime he talks about Apple, he will always find some criticism in there. And I get it, he is actually right for a majority of them. But then you have his recent video, the iPhone XR is depressing, where he talks about the display being 720, which I will make a video about. But Lou, you should have expected this from Apple anyway. Why are you going around saying, oh, this and that and this and that? Like, Lou, you are obviously new. You're not even an Apple fan. Apple doesn't even send him shit to review. So, I mean, the fact that even Apple knows they don't want to support with this guy. But Lou, in my opinion, is a great YouTuber. But my problem with him is he's more of an Android user, which is fine. But when the Android competition take things that Apple does, he never once acknowledges it. The only time I've seen him acknowledge it was when the Google Pixel 3 XL. When he talked about how the Google Pixel 3 XL will have a notch. Every video that he's made with Huawei, the Poco phone F1, or the Xiaomi, any of these phones that have an iPhone 10 looking notch, he never once says they're stealing the Apple's iPhone 10 design. He never once acknowledges that these phones are stealing the iPhone 10 design. He will always praise them to the moon and beyond. And honestly, I don't blame him, because probably the competition has more better to offer. But you gotta acknowledge once in a while, be like, come on, isn't this enough? Stop taking the freaking notch from the iPhone 10. Like, come up with your own design. Like, he never once says that. The only time he ever said that was for the Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus or the Google Pixel 2 XL. And that's fine. Then you have Austin Evans, who, again, I love Austin Evans. And no complaints with him. I consider him more in the middle, where he knows both parties, but acknowledges problems from both sides. Austin would fall in that realm. We're going to talk about this now. YouTubers that meet in the middle and acknowledge when both parties are at fault. And Austin, in my opinion, falls in the middle, because I think he likes Apple and Android or anything at all. He will talk about it, but he is also not biased towards each company. He is a split down the middle YouTuber. You could literally go to him and ask him for his opinion, and you wouldn't have to worry about biasy or anything. Then you have Linus Tech Tips, who has had a lot of problems with Apple, so don't expect him to be in Apple's praise. But he has a legitimate reason to, you know, be upset with Apple because of what happened with his iMac Pro. And then finally, the one YouTuber, in my opinion, that I believe is the perfect in-the-middle guy that you can literally go to, just like Austin, Front Page Tech. If you watch Front Page Tech's videos, if you watch any of his videos, you will see that he is not only, in my opinion, the best when it comes to giving you the news, but he's straightforward and says it as it is. And he's even had interactions with Taylusive Tech, which is honestly the best to see him and them go back and forth. But when you watch his videos, you can literally see he makes so much valid points. He's not biased towards Samsung, Apple, or Android, or iOS. He is literally down the middle. He doesn't give a shit. He's straightforward, and I like that about him. So if I had to give a safe YouTuber who I would preference for technology, I'd give it to Front Page Tech. I'm just saying. But this is just a sum of the list of what I wanted to talk about, the problem with tech YouTubers. The problem is each one has a heavy side for each company, and you can't get a solid definition from which is which. I'm not trying to bash every YouTuber. I'm not trying to say that they're the worst or the best, but you guys gotta understand, when you listen to news and stuff, they're never gonna solidly give you a solid figure. They're not gonna give you the right and wrong. They're gonna tell you all the negatives of their company that they don't prefer versus what they like. It should be down the middle. Both parties have pluses, both parties have negative, but if one outweighs the other by just a smudge, then it's up to you what you want. And Front Page Tech, for me, meets that criteria. He gives you a solid answer, and he literally breaks it down to the point where maybe a 5-year-old can watch the videos. So this is what I wanted to do. Obviously, this video is going to get a lot of likes and dislikes, and I don't expect this video to blow up as much, but I just want to kind of say it out there that I respect all these YouTubers. I don't take anything away from them. I respect their work, and I respect what they do, but you got to understand, to the average viewers, people that watch, you're never going to see as much fairness if they're an Apple sheep, an Apple fanboy, or if they're an Android fanboy or an Android sheep, for that matter. So you're not going to see evenly unless you look really hard for guys like Austin Evans and Front Page Tech. If you could get guys like that, you'll be fine. But other than that, I just wanted to kind of give my status of what I'm seeing as a problem with most tech YouTubers. But this is just my opinion. Again, this is what I believe, like why these YouTubers are always biased and stuff. And that's just the truth. All tech reviewers are biased, and it doesn't matter who they're biased to, either iOS or Android, it doesn't matter. One way or another, one of them are biased. And if you're lucky enough to find YouTubers that are not biased and respect both companies, like me, Austin, and Front Page Tech. Now, I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan of the world. I do trash Android at times, but I still respect Android. As a matter of fact, I still even promote some of their flagship devices, like the Google Pixel and the Samsung Galaxy. I won't acknowledge when they're better than the iPhone. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm not biased at all. I'm just like those guys. I will give you a solid answer. I just cover more of Apple because a lot of people on my channel watch Apple, and Android fans I'm starting to try and build around because I know a lot of Android fans are not watching as much, but I am still trying, obviously, and I want to give you guys solid answers just like those guys. So that's really all I gotta say. I really hope you understand this gist of this video. I'm not trying to bash YouTubers. I'm not trying to sound like a cocky, stupid kid. I'm just trying to lay it out there of what I'm seeing. And if you guys feel the same way, comment down below. But that's really all I have to say. If you like this video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. It's your opinion. If you want to give me death threats and stuff, write down in the comments below. It is your opinion. I really don't care. I gotta get going. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, subscribe, turn on notifications, and peace.